So you want to bring in a speaker trainer and provide some speaker coaching for your staff or for some people at your organization or your team. So how much does that cost? My name's Shola Kaye. I'm a public speaking coach, a professional trainer, and also a professional speaker. And I'm going to answer that question in this video. And the first thing I'm going to say is it depends. And the reason it depends is, or the number of reasons that it depends are multiple. First of all, you want to think about how much or what sort of skills you want that speaker trainer to have. Do you want something quite generic for your group, or do you want some specialist training that takes into account the industry that you're in or the skill set that your team has? For example, there are a number of companies out there where you can actually bring in a coach for a day, or you can send your team out to them and they will work with your team. And typically, don't quote me on this because every company is different that provides training, but you might pay as much as £800-900 a day for training for each individual. So obviously, if you're sending 5-6 people on a training, it can start to get expensive, which is why you might want to look at somebody coming to you and coming and spending a day with you instead. Now, when that's the case, again, you can pay different amounts. You might pay as on the low end, perhaps £500 a day for someone to come to you. And typically, if you don't live in a big city like London, if you're perhaps in a more regional place, you might find that you'll get more affordable rates among the providers in your local area. It could go all the way up to perhaps £1,000 or £1,500 just for half a day, and it could be £1,500 for a full day. So it really does depend on the skills of the individual. Some speaker trainers that I know might charge £2,500, £3,000 a day, even more if they're giving you very specialised information. And also if you want something that's very tailored to the needs of your group. So in terms of the charges of my own speaker training, I tend to say to people that I'd like to work with your budget, and it totally depends on what your budget is, where I have to travel to, how much preparation I have to do. So if you want something that's quite generic, perhaps a couple of hours of refresher training or something quite basic, then that can be very affordable. And then it goes up from there. So you really need to think about what your budget is. And you could say to quite a few providers, well, I've got this budget, what can you do for me? So you're better off deciding who you want to work with, first of all, and then telling them your budget, because they might have a couple of days free where they can give you a lower rate because they know that it's at short notice and they can't fill that time. Or some might say, well, it's short notice, I'm going to charge you more. It really does depend on the way the practitioner works. But have an idea of the budget, have an idea of what you want your team to learn. Do you need something that's industry specific or something that's very generic? Do you need, for example, pitching skills? Do you need to go out and pitch for new business? So you need those kind of skills. Or do you need some very generic speaker training where people need to get up and speak more confidently in your team meetings? Or do you need somebody to be able to go and stand at a big industry conference and speak to 2,000 or 3,000 people in a really confident and poised way? Which again is, all of those three examples are very different, aren't they? So you need to understand what skill set you would like your team to acquire through the training, so that when you do go and start looking for your speaker coach, you're really clear about where you want your team to get to, and then of course that will help you to choose the right person. So I hope that helps. I guess the answer to that question, how long is a piece of string? It depends, but have a good idea of your budget and have a good idea of what sort of skills you want that trainer to have, or that speaker coach. Do you want them to have the credibility of having written a few books? For example, I've written several books. Do you want them to have an entertainment background? There are a lot of actors who go out and help people to become better speakers. I myself have a background as a professional singer and have worked around the world on big stages and small ones. So it really depends on the skill set you want. Are you in quite a serious profession where you want people to be to have lots of gravitas, or do you want people to pick up skills where they're more light-hearted and they're more relatable, and it's that relatability that will help them to be more successful as speakers, maybe at big conferences or standing on a stand at an exhibition. Being relatable can be really helpful, right? Because if you're more relatable, you're probably more inviting to talk to. You'll probably strike up more conversations. That could lead to more sales, rather than somebody who's quite forbidding and very stern and serious and isn't very attractive to people walking by in terms of, pulling people into that stand and having a quick chat. So there's a lot of variables involved, and there are also obviously a lot of practitioners out there. There are companies that can offer you training. You send people to them. There are companies that will bring people to you. There are individuals that you can reach out to who can come to you. There's online training. There's all sorts of options available. So it starts with you asking yourself the key questions and then looking to find the right practitioner. But I hope that helps. If you're considering me to be the person that comes and does your training for you, I work in a very general sense with a lot of different industries. I also have specific training that I deliver to individuals or teams who are perhaps in the STEM areas, the STEM industries. Perhaps they're professional services like accountants, and they're used to dealing with technical information, numbers, data. So with the STEM background that I have, I specialize in working with those sorts of groups. But of course, I also have very generic training as well. So that's why I can offer a wide range of different prices, whether it's something that I just come in and I've prepared before, or you want to work with me closely over a period of time. So we construct a program specifically for you and for your team. So get in touch, drop me a message via the contact page, contact me, or just drop me an email at info@sholakaye.net, and we can have a chat about your needs for training. But I hope that this is helpful, and keep in touch. Take care. Bye.